10 signs you are the villain. 1. You always brag about your plans to the hero. Part of the reason you always seem to lose is your overactive ego. That ego can really get you into trouble by making you constantly brag to others about your plans. You are so certain of yourself that you will win or that you've won. As a result, you tend to give all the answers and how you can be beaten. 2. You get people on your side using deceit and trickery. You use people to get what you want by exploiting their weaknesses through trickery and deceit. Though this may work in your favor, it tends to hurt you down the road. 3. You think out loud. I don't know why the villains think it's such a good idea to talk out their plans. You never know who is spying on you, friend or foe. What you say can and often ruins your plans somewhere down the line. 4. You don't get your hands dirty. As a villain and as a person, you can't do everything by yourself. You need grunts and subordinates to do the work that you can't do or in most cases won't do. 5. At least one person who you've deceived in the past wants to kill you now. Because you have deceived so many people, you have to worry about former allies seeking to take your life. 6. You're always on the run and may have different aliases. Lies and deceit add up to the point where they become known to everyone over time. The change of sides of a former ally causes your whereabouts to be known. The bragging of your plans causes your ideas to be known. This causes you to constantly be on the run and requires the need of different masks or identities to not make yourself exposed the way you have been before. 7. You almost always seem to lose whenever it matters the most. After all the victories that you've had, you just can't seem to win at the most pivotal moment. Sometimes you can't help wondering, why does this keep happening? Well, with the exception of what is mentioned later on, it must mean you are the villain. This is perhaps the most surefire sign that you are without a doubt the villain. 8. No matter how many times you are killed, you always seem to come back. The heroes, civilians, and everyone would think after all the time of you being killed or hearing of your defeat that you would actually be dead and gone for good. However, this is almost never the case. You always seem to find yourself back in this reality for a chance to finally take vengeance on those who defeated you. 9. As a supervillain, you are often either a scientist, a magician, or a clown. Have you ever noticed many of the major villains often fall into one of these three categories? Sometimes they fall into more than one of these categories. The scientist. As a scientific villain, you are often working in an underground lab where you perform deviant experiments on random people. You may have an assistant who acts as your front man for your subordinates and test subjects. While your assistant takes care of the nuanced issues, you are deep in your lab constantly working on major projects. You tend not to engage in any altercations involving the outside world until you've fully prepared for what's to come at hand. The magician. As a magician, you tend not to be very strong. As a matter of fact, you may be weak and scrawny. However, your magic is very powerful, which makes you dangerous. You more often than not have to get people to fight your battles for you. This is quite easy as you are a master manipulator and your magic reinforces this quality. Being a manipulator, unlike a scientific villain, means you can hide among everyday people. A wolf in sheep's clothing. You often stand somewhere around the top, near someone who has more direct influence than you do. The clown. As a clown, you are very brazen and egotistical. Your dress reflects this in every way, shape, and form. You often laugh a lot and have a comedic tone. Unlike the magician and scientist, you require the least preparation. You are more willing to get down and dirty in a fight regardless of whether it be physical, mental, or otherwise. The way you fight is unorthodox and people often don't know what to expect. Because of this, when you strike, it may not be as precise as other villains, but the damage done to your victims is almost always critical, taking its full effect. 10. As a minor villain, you are often either a brute, a lost cause, or a revenge seeker. The brute. As a brute, you are physically strong, but are often incredibly stupid. You are so strong, in fact, you tend to be stronger than the one controlling you. Your strength makes you valuable, but your intellect makes you easy to control. Because of this, you are often immediately sought after, especially by the magician. Your strength is especially useful for doing what he can't do or in early schemes that may require a lot of physical labor. Your strength is usually so tremendous that the heroes will have a hard time restraining you. This makes you a great scapegoat for the major villain to make a getaway. The lost cause. As a lost cause, there was a time where you lost your identity and will to live. You were likely abandoned as a child or treated as an outcast at some point early in your life. This left you devastated, alone, and not willing to trust almost anyone. One day, a major villain stumbles upon you and sees your potential. They take you in as their own and raise you in the ways of evil. Your personality often reflects theirs. Your identity is what they want for you, and you are completely content with this. You are the torch to their flame that will carry their desires wherever they want them to go. You make for the perfect right-hand man, and if they find themselves the major villain in trouble, they can always rely on you because they are the reason you exist. Unlike the brute, a lost cause has the most potential to be a major villain, usually only when their master is dead or in prison, because they were raised intimately by one when they had nothing. This makes them the most dangerous of all the minor villains. Because they were raised by the major villain and nurtured in such a way, this can cause them to continue to follow his ideologies long after their master's death. It may even be close to impossible to change their minds at this point. The revenge seeker. As a revenge seeker, you are someone who has been, or at the very least, felt betrayed by someone close to you. Because of these feelings of betrayal, you fall to the side of evil. The betrayal oftentimes may not have been the person close to you who you thought it was, but a villain who deceived you or deceived one or both of you. This was to cause chaos and to potentially get one of you on their side. As a revenge seeker, you are the most unstable of the three minor villains. You know what you're doing is wrong, teaming up with the villain. However, you want your lover or friend or whomever to feel the pain that they inflicted on you. The revenge seeker is the least likely to remain controlled for long by the villain because all it usually takes is a simple apology from the betrayer to bring them back to where they were once before.